Okay, let's take a look at an example of using a table in a real-world project. I've created a little application here. As you can see, there's a list box and a label on my stage here that says contact. Now let's take a look at what I've got here. I'm going to double-click on the page to show you what's in the actions area. On the on-show event here, actually, let's go out of here and we'll go into our script editor. I can make it a little bit bigger. And there we go. Okay, so what I've done here is I've created a table called contact info, and I've inserted some values in there. So in the first place, or in the first position, I've inserted a table, and in that table is contained three values: a name, an address, and a phone number. Acme Automotive, address 412 Darwin Street, and so forth. As you can see here, I've done the same again for 4 more entries. So basically what I'm doing here is creating pseudo phone book entries. We've got 5 different names, 5 different addresses, and 5 different phone numbers. So I've created a little contact info table here that contains contact info on how to contact, for example, maybe our friends or business contacts. Okay, what I've done here following that is I've created a for loop that is basically our special for loop that we reviewed earlier in this chapter for walking through this table. And I've gone here and inserted these values here into list box. So I've got the list box add item action, and I've inserted these values into our list box one at a time, and I've inserted their index value along with them so that we can access the data later when we double click on these items in the list box. So basically what that's going to do is create for each of these entries, it's going to create a position in the list box, and it's going to use the name of the entry as the title because we've accessed that here using the contact info index name reference here. Okay, so as we loop through, as that index number changes, it's going to take the name from each of these entries and insert them into the list box. So let's go ahead and look at our list box. That's where the remaining actions are. And we're going to look in the actions area in the on double click event. And what we've got here is a dialog message action. And we're going to break this down. It looks a little bit complicated, but if you look at this first portion here, this basically explains everything. We're accessing that contact info table, and then we're basically just, of course this is on the on double click event, so this will happen when people double click. And what we're basically doing here is getting the selected item and selecting the name of that. Okay, so we've got that into a we've got the list box get selected, so that's returning a table. And then we're returning the name of that, and we're using that as the title of our dialog message. So for example, when we click on Acme Automotive, the title of the dialog that pops up will be Acme Automotive. And then we're using the same reference here for the body of our dialog message, except we're referring to the address portion and to the phone portion of the entry. Okay? And it's inserting that into our dialog message. I've inserted a little line break here, concatenated that in between so it'll put it on separate lines, and I've just made some choices about the dialog message box here. For example, I've got rid of the icon by using message box, icon none, etc. So let's go ahead and press OK, and we'll run our application and take a look at how it works. So just from that original table you can see here at runtime, it's taken the items and it's added them to the list box. Now if we double click on one of these items, for example Pizza Shack, you can see here it gives us a nice little dialog box which contains the title of the entry as well as the address and phone number information. And we can press OK. Now let's double click on Acme Automotive. As you can see, it gives us the same information but for the different entry. Okay, so as we go through the different entries, we're getting the same information on each entry: address and phone number and title. Okay, so that's how that works. And basically what I wanted you to get out of this lesson is that tables are really only useful for you if you can use them in your projects in a meaningful way. So this is one example of a way which you could do that. Now if you were to combine what we did here with the earlier project we did, which was manipulating tables, so we were adding and removing elements from the table, you could actually create yourself a little phone book here in about 5 minutes flat, and it'd be a professional looking little phone book that would be, quite handy around the home or office. So this has a practical application that you can use it for. Now, of course, this is a simple example, and you can extend this, as far as you need to. But the main point of showing this example was how you can use tables to leverage, quite handy applications or applications that might have value to your clients. Okay, so let's go ahead to the next lesson where we'll have a final discussion on table usage and examine some of the most important points of the chapter that we've just completed.